Hello comrades, yes it's me, a Yorkshireman now living in Wales. I'm back again and this is part 3 of my review of the Welsh First Minister interview on Sky. So without much of ado, let's get down at it.
With them, we've worked with the Lib Dems in the past, so this is not something that's unusual for us, and we've always had to work with other parties to get our budget through.
So that sounds like a yes?
Well, if needs must, then clearly, but the key thing is that you keep focused on what do the public want. What is it we need to deliver for them? And what's really interesting at the moment, we've got a budget that we need to pass and we need an extra.
Right comrades, now this I find quite intriguing actually, so happy to work with other parties if needs must. But then the key thing is, must be focused on what the public want. That's a key thing. Right then, well, now is that a want which must agree with the political parties in Wales? Because many people don't want the blanket 20 mile an hour. Many people don't want climate change or net zero money being spent to the tune of, guess what, £2 billion a year. We don't want that, right? So you should deliver for that. But they're not going to do it, are they? So really, you have to admit, this isn't looking good in terms of like, are you sort of like being really, genuine when you're doing these interviews? Because 500,000 people, and I will keep banging on about this, made their voice heard and really clear. So why don't you deliver that and then you might stand a chance. Anyway, comrades, now let's get on to the next section.
What about reform? Would you go into coalition with reform?
I think there's a red line on that one, without question. This is a party that I don't think represents the values of Wales. The values of Wales are values of community, of family, of making sure that actually what we don't do is to divide each other. We work in solidarity here, and that is simply not the philosophy that reform has. And frankly, there's nothing Welsh about reform. They're very much, I think, an English-focused party.
Right, comrades. So the first thing I'll point out is that the needs must statement wasn't really true, is it? Because let's just say it's a 50-50 reform and, I don't know, Welsh Labour. And what she's literally saying is, won't work with them. So where does that leave anybody who's voted for reform? I mean, really? Is it that democratic of a system, or is it now hinting more so at a dictatorship? Because if it's a needs must, that means you'll work with anybody. Now, also it goes on to say is they're not really Welsh focused, are they? They're not interested in the community, they're not interested in anything to do with the people, which I find really weird actually. But I will come to that maybe a little bit later, because later on in the interview she then goes on about it again. So I find it really odd. Now, the other thing which sort of strikes me as rather odd is Reform is not a Welsh party. Now, I don't want to disappoint anybody. Welsh Labour, Welsh Labour are not really a Welsh party. The only party which have any claim to that is Plaid Cymru. Right? The hint is in the name. And also, if you think about the Labour Party was developed by the working class. Yes, the working class, not the elite class, which seem to have hijacked it at the moment for their own nefarious purposes. It was started by the working class, and I do aim, and I will do a video on the working class and some of the strikes and battles they actually had across Wales. Yes. So I find this a little bit disingenuous. I also find it a little bit misleading in terms of what's being said here. Now, of course, I have to also think that if the Welsh Government was so community focused, why do I keep reading about various communities? And one of them is Fairbourne, which literally I got told you're going to get flooded, and then they get told you're not going to get any money and you're going to be the first world's environmental refugees or climate refugees. Now, don't get me wrong, that's not very community focused, is it? And there is many examples about that, and I will be doing some videos on how communities have been abandoned. Should I say. Right comrades, short videos, thank you for that, and catch you on the other side.